It's the last day of PI planning, right? And we are also happy about us meeting together as a team, discussing all these futures for the past maybe 2 days or 3 days, or maybe a week, depending on your company for how long you have your PI planning. And now, you as a Scrum Master, we are thinking, okay, what else do I need to do on this last day of this PI planning? Or what other thing can I ensure it's in place so I can able to support my team? And hopefully we are not missing anything. We captured everything. And today is our last day to figure out and finalize everything. So in today's video, I'm going to be covering what else happened on the last day of the PI planning, or let's say when your PI planning actually ends, and what are other things we might be looking for a Scrum Master to follow up or even help encourage the team for them to do that can continue to help you in your upcoming PI or the current PI that you're about to start. Welcome back to Aisha Scrum platform. I'm very happy to have you all. And hello everyone from everywhere you are in the world. And for all my new subscribers and my current subscriber, I appreciate you all. And by the way, Happy New Year. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday and you all had a wonderful New Year and you're all ready to kickstart this year. So let's get into it. The first thing I have in my board is the PI planning checklist, right? And I have that up there in the board. I know like some people are like, okay, what checklist is she talking about? I know sometimes I've worked with different RTEs and some will have like a list of items they want you to do or for your team to follow. Basically like a list of guides just to help you ensure that you covered everything, you captured everything needed that can help your team to ensure that you gather everything you might need for the PI planning itself. So the last day on the PI planning or when your PI plan is about to end, so for you as a Scrum Master, what you will do is to hopefully bring out that checklist that the RT might have already given you, or maybe your company already have one, or whatever. If you even have one, if you do not have one, I'll highly encourage that you talk to your RT about this because it's something that's very important that can help you all to ensure that you are hitting the right keynotes and the key points to help you in this PI planning. So basically, they might have as little thing as team come together and team discuss futures. Team were able to break down those futures to story. Team estimates the stories. Risks identify, dependency identify, high and uncertainty identify. Updates on Mural board if your company use Mural or Miro for PI planning. Update this board, include the capacity, separate sprints, and link up with team. These are just different things you might have in a PI planning checklist. So, but it depends again on what your company have. So on the last day, basically, you are going through with all of these checklists with your team to ensure that you meet all those checklists that the RT is asking your team to have so that your team will be up and ready for this PI that's about to start. So that's the first thing. So the next thing I have in my board that is I think I would do as a Scrum Master to help ensure that my team will be ready is revise the risk board, And the reason why I have for us to revise the risk board is that because sometimes, let's say you have a PI planning and it's 4 days a week. I know like there's no certain days on PI planning depending on your company for how long maybe you guys they've been doing the PI planning or sometimes how large the company is, they might have a longer days. So let's say you identify a risk on a Monday. Let's say this PI plan is started on a Monday and you identify a risk on a Monday and you discuss this as a team and let's say like maybe you didn't jot it down or maybe you did jot it down but you have it on your Jira and you had another risk identified on a Tuesday and now is the last day of the PA planning, you have to ensure that maybe you all have discussed ways how you can solve these risks or ways how you can follow up with the risks and who to escalate the risks to, or if it's something that's going to basically resolve throughout the PA itself. So basically you revisit those and sometimes I know like I've seen like boards whereby they have a Mora board on its own, they have a board for all the risks. So basically you go in that board and you update the rigs and ensure that it also matches in what you have in your Jira board. So that's something that is very important for you to double check and check as a Scrum Master, or you can also communicate and collaborate with your product owner and have that in your board. So that's that. And the next thing I have in my board is revise, I say revisit, revise definition of ready and definition of done. So why is this so important? Well, it's very important to know that for sometimes company, when it comes to definition of done, it might be from the organization itself, right? So let's even think about the Scrum Guide, right? According to the definition of done, when it comes to the Scrum Guide, it stated that you should ensure that your organization have one, right? So if your organization do not have one, you as the Scrum Master, you have to ensure like your team has one. So, and let's say in this case that you're working with the definition of done already, that team created is not from the organization itself. And you are currently working, you have to, it's very important for you as a Scrum Master to go back and check the definition of done and definition of ready to ensure that it matches your current PI workload or your current PI priority or futures or anything. So let's say like you were working on one project and or you're working some part of a different interface on a project, and now in this PI you might be working on different part of it. So based on the steps on that workflow it takes for you to complete that task, and how would you know that as a Scrum Master or as a product owner, you collaborate with the engineering team. So you have to ensure that your current definition of ready will match that new project or new workflow you might have, so that it can match what your team is doing. So if sometimes people are like, oh, Aisha, we don't even have time. What do you even mean for us to go over definition of ready and definition of done? We don't have time for such. Let's say it's true, like your team is so busy, you had too many things to do, you have a lot of stuff to do. And in this case, you might not have basically go over it during PI planning, but let's say the following week or usually the next day of the sprint planning, right? And that sprint planning day, you've already discussed sprint one and estimated that already during PI planning itself. So you can use that 1 hour time for your sprint planning and use that time and go over a definition of ready and definition of done, if in case you don't have that time during the last day of PI planning. Because it's very important, right? Because that's just like a checklist also to ensure that you meet all of those checklists before you can consider your task completed, or in order for your team to develop or make that increment. So it's very important for you to revise and revisit your definition of ready and your definition of done. So if you find my content valuable and you find like all what I've been teaching on YouTube very valuable, please subscribe to my channel. I know like people like don't beg for subscribers. No, I'm begging for subscribers. Subscribe to my channel, and if you are interested in mentorship, I have my email now, my business email, which is admin at aisha scrum, admin at aisha tech.com. I'm also going to write it down below. And if also you want to call me, you can call me at 484-767-1979. And follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm very new on TikTok. I don't know how to use those tools as much, but you can follow me on Instagram. I respond to DMs. Yes, I do. And my Instagram is Aisha Scrum. Aisha Scrum. TikTok's the same, Aisha Scrum. So if you're interested in mentorship, in our next group of class going to start in February 2nd. So contact me, email me if you're struggling at work, you have interview questions. Do not hesitate. I will gladly would like to help. So let's get back into this video. So the next thing I have in my board is revise working agreements. And people are like, oh, revise working agreements? Yes, because why? I see a new PI as a new beginning, a new start, a new way to improve, a new way to evolve, a new way to grow as a team. So you should also use that opportunity to correct anything that was so wrong in your current PI that just ended, and add those valuable lessons you've learned into your working agreement, so you all can go over it as a team and make your team better. So that's how you improve and that's how you grow. So I've also seen a team that will write working agreements and have it saved in Confluence and will never go back to it and revisit it. And that's not what an agreement is all about. It's something that is just like a saved document where you can constantly look at it and look for ways how you can implement it with your Scrum processes to help guide your team where you guys to work together with reducing conflict, right? So you should definitely try to use opportunity for this PI since you're about to start a new PI and revisit your working agreement to ensure that your team have everything up to date or anything that was so bad that happened in last PI. You will discuss those as consequences of things that you do not want in this PI. So definitely use this opportunity and revisit that. So the next thing I have in my board is retrospective. Yeah, that's very important. You always will have retrospective on the last day of the PI. And I've also seen like some company, they might be busy during the PI, they might not do the retrospective on the last day of the PI, but you can definitely do the retrospective after the PI, the last day of PI. The most important thing is as long you do a retrospective as a team, that's going to be very, very important. I've also seen like a lot of RCEs, like they'll be they'll keep reminding you as a team, like, okay, did you guys do your retrospective? Did you do your retrospective? Because it's very important for them because they like host the PI and they want to ensure that they are doing the best of jobs and also help supporting teams to ensure that we have everything needed to be successful in during PI planning. So it's very important for your team to participate in the retrospective, and you will use that as basically what you will do for the sprint. Basically, you discuss what you loved so much about this PI, what things you can improve, or what things you guys learned as a team, and what are the action items you guys plan to improve for the upcoming PI. And I know one time we had a team members, and most of the time they will always say what can be improved. They're like, oh, it's boring. It's boring. Everyone kept saying it's boring, it's boring. So, and then I was like, okay, maybe what can we make it better? I was asking them, okay, what do you think? They're like, oh, maybe we can make it something fun, like add like more games, like team building activity games. I'll not just sit down for like long hours of discussing futures and stories. Why won't we just incorporate games in between? I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And we did that for the next PI, which is nice due to the team members doing retrospective and giving that feedback. Other thing feedback I once had from my team was for us to include them. Like we once had a winter wonderland PI planning them. It was really nice. People were dressing differently and also having like a template of that in our board, and it was really, really nice. So we started incorporating different things to make it not as boring as people were complaining, and a lot of other action items also came from the team. So that's something that's very, very important to include in your last day or some any other time your team have a chance to do some kind of retrospective. So another thing I have in my board is discuss the action item from your retrospective to your Scrum meeting. And people are like, oh, we shouldn't be discussing retrospective stuff. But remember, this is not about you saying what your team did good in your project or what your team did bad in your project or whatever. You're talking about the PI planning itself. Like maybe you had too many risks, you had dependency, you have all those issues and you couldn't find solutions for that, or something that needed to be escalated. So of course you will also tell your team, because we don't want to be like, let them know that the action item that came out of this is something that you plan as a Scrum Master to report this to the RTE about ways we all can improve in the next PI. So that is something that's very, very important, because when you do attend your Scrum of Scrum, whereby it will be all Scrum Masters and the release train engineer, they might ask you like, oh, what happened with your retrospective? What did your team suggestion came about in ways how we can improve? And that's when you, the Scrum Master, will summarize like things that you can help improve, or things that went so well, or things that didn't go too well, or what can we remove or keep for the next PI. So this feedback is very, very nice. And I know like RTE, I've always asked them like, oh, Aisha, did you get the retrospective? What was the feedback? So how can we improve in that? If I did a lot of videos on pre-PI planning and also during PI planning, if you missed my two videos on how it can help you know what to do as a Scrum Master to support you as a team, watch that. I'm going to link those video below so you can be able to have opportunity to watch before PI planning so you can support your team. Thank you all for listening to me, and thank you all for watching my channel. I truly appreciate you all. I hope to see you all in my next video, and do not hesitate to reach out to me to my detail. If you are in need of a mentor, you can email me at admin@aishascrumtech.com, or you can call me at 484-767-1979. And thank you all, and see you all again in my next video by the grace of God.